Point gained or two dropped. I'll let you know. I'll let you comment below what you think of it. But let's get through some of the negatives first. Right. First of all, I'm not going to delve too much into it. Right. The first half was about as bad as what I've seen Sunderland. I'm talking Norwich City at the start of the season bad. Now that was horrendous. We've got better players in midfield and attack, in my opinion, than Bournemouth. Defensively, you could make a case maybe otherwise, but in my opinion, we should be beating Bournemouth. But they clearly deserved it more than we did in the first half. We were absolutely shocking. Johnson in particular, I thought was rubbish. Every time he kept trying to go forward, he kept trying to skill his way past somebody, which he has got quality in doing so, might I add. But he couldn't even do the basic stuff. Midfield-wise, we looked disorganised, defensively all over the place, and we kept lumping the ball forward to Jermaine Defoe. Now, fair enough, Bournemouth are pressing into our faces. That's hard to play against. But still, I would have appreciated it if there was some way of combating what Bournemouth was doing. We should have found a way to do it. Minoni, for me, I think he's a decent keeper, and I think certainly selling Pantilimon in terms of wages was the right idea, but he should have saved the goal. Having said that, other than that, he didn't have too much of a bad game. Van Aanholt, I have to admit, now Van Aanholt, not just because of the goal he scored, which was fantastic movement and build-up and finishing, by the way, but he was making runs. He was going all over the place to try and make himself big on the pitch. We need to see people do more of that. End of story. So that's the negative stuff. Now, the negative thing, again, is that we're still 3 points adrift of safety, and it could be more if Swansea get a result tomorrow, which I hope they don't. But on the positive side, I do think, the one last negative is given our next 3 fixtures, City, Liverpool and United, that was a chance and an opportunity missed to try and get 3 points and get a gap over everybody else. To close the gap, rather. On the positive side, though, that's only the second time this season, if I remember correctly, that we've gone behind in a game, conceded the first goal, and got a result from it. I.e. didn't lose. So that's a positive to take in itself. However, and another positive as well is that, yes, we've got to play City, Liverpool and United, but look at it this way. Every other team's got to play them at some point. By near end of February, before the West Ham game, the traditional Big Six, which is Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool and both Manchester clubs, by the time prior to the West Ham game, we'll have already played 4 of them twice. And bearing in mind, out of the next 3 games, 2 of them are at the Stadium of Light. So we've got to make that home advantage count to some extent. So, thankfully Newcastle lost. And I'm not saying, and any Newcastle fans, I'm not saying that because you're our rivals. I'm saying that because you're near us. If your position and Watford's were reversed and switched round, I'd want you to beat Watford. There you go. If Swansea lose tomorrow, then I would definitely see it as a point gained, especially given how the first half went. One last thing I would want to talk about, though, is Big Sam's tactics, which I personally didn't agree with, because last week I could excuse why he took Catamol off. Whereas this time, Catamol didn't have a good game. Now, I can excuse to a point that he didn't bring in Doy on, which, as we kept lumping balls forward, and Doy would have been the perfect candidate for us to, to use him to our strengths. However, we kept lumping the ball forward to Jermaine Defoe, and I don't know how many times we're going to do this before we finally actually realise, hello, Defoe is only 5 foot odd. He is not a big lanky striker. He can't play again. He can't play like that. If you're going to do that, you need Fletcher and Doy in that system because they suit it. Even Barini, he suits that more than Defoe does. So I would have for me, Allardyce should have brought in Johnson off rather, and brought in Doy on to take a bit of a risk and gamble and go for it. But I can understand equally why he didn't, because the repercussions of defeat would have been massive. The loss today would have been damaging. So, on the positive, you could say that it's a point. So I can see why he was scared to go for it a bit more, because Bournemouth still created a better chance in the second half, including that one from Lewis Graben, correct me if I pronounced the name wrong, of course, where he somehow shoots wide one-on-one with Minoni. How he missed that, I do not know. But we shouldn't have allowed him to have the chance in the first place. That's my point. So, that way, a point is a point. It's definitely a better point for Bournemouth than for Sunderland. I think their priority before the game would have been mainly to not get beat, and they didn't. So, anyway, I'm going to take it as a positive. I do definitely think there are positives to take in this game, and I want to ask you Sunderland fans a question. Now, forget how other teams did. At the start of January, when we were 7 points adrift of safety before the Aston Villa game, would you have took 7 points out of Villa at home, Swansea away, Tottenham away and Bournemouth at home? Would you have took 7 points? 2 wins, a draw and a loss. The loss, you would know the loss would be against Spurs. Personally, I would have took 7 points. So there are positives again to take out of this. So I'm not going to blame the players and criticise Big Sam too much, but that was probably the worst we've played while not losing, if that makes any sense. That's the worst we've played in a long time where we haven't lost a game. So in that aspect, a point's all right then. Last thing though, guys, and this is to the Sunderland board, particularly Ellis Short. If you screw up this transfer window again, like we have done in the past, and not invest money on actual quality players, we simply deserve to get relegated because we can't afford this every single year. There was even talks from one of my friends at one stage that, the club might be raising its season card prices for next year if we stay up for the TV deal. Don't make me laugh. Forget the cups. In the league, what right has this club got to ask us to pay more money when we've been given nothing to cheer about over the last 4 years? Don't give me that crap. Ridiculous. We have some of the best supporters in the country, in the world, most underrated fan bases, and we have nothing to shout about anything year on year. Ridiculous. So I would have been having a full-blown rant had we lost today, and that first half alone deserved a rant. It was that bad. But nevertheless, we didn't play very well, but we didn't lose the game. I believe that point we got today could prove could prove vital at the end of the season. So these next 10 days are massive in Sunderland's recent history and transfer windows. This could define our recent history. It could define our near future. It will certainly define the rest of the season. Please don't cock this up, lads. We need decent quality. I mean, even Austin scoring today for Southampton still made me pissed off why we didn't get him, or at least put a bid in for him, especially considering how tight Ellis Short is with his money. That would have suited him. That would have been a perfect move. 4 million for a proven goal scorer, and he would have been sorted as far as the strikers are concerned, leaving you more money to try and buy midfielders and defenders, which we still need. I rest me case. So Ellis Short, you can't be cocky and you can't be stingy this time. And the last thing I'll say is financial fair play. Why are we being restricted so much by this? Yes, we've wasted money, right? But look, Newcastle, Tovan, Remy Cabella, Riviere. That alone is around about 30-odd million pounds. They're not getting fined. Newcastle's not the only example. Norwich, Ricky van Wolfswinkel and Gary Hooper. That's near £15 million they spent. They're not getting fined. Why the hell should we get fined then? No one else seems to be affected by this, and the club or someone needs to properly explain what financial fair play involves. I'm sick to death of hearing about this. Go out and spend the money that you clearly need in order to stay in this division. If you don't, you deserve to get relegated. So hopefully this will waken up the board and see what we need to do. Alright, maybe there's stuff going on behind the scenes. There probably is, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, let's just hope the next 10 days we get some decent players, ones that will improve the squad. And I mean genuinely improve it. Sick to death of watching players do nothing. Absolute joke. Right, guys, let's prepare for the crunch time of the season, and let's hope by the time we at least go to West Ham before that game that we are at least in touching distance of safety. And other teams keep dropping points, please. So, anyway, guys, I'll love yous and leave yous. Not in a gay way, obviously. I will see you guys all later, and until then, bye-bye.